Hello, welcome to our second MyAdvice webinar. I'm always so happy when our partners reach out to collaborate and bring value to our audience, and that's going to be the case for sure tonight. I'm Tiffany Hall, Chief Growth Officer at Aesthetic Record, and it's a pleasure to have you here for the next hour to take a deep dive into your marketing efforts. Our speakers are going to share the secrets of sustainable marketing, how to make more, spend less, and grow your business. So let's meet them. I'm joined by Robbie and Michael Antosy of MyAdvice. Robbie Antosy has worked as a digital marketing consultant in the aesthetics world for a decade. He's presented at multiple conferences during that time and is well versed in understanding the needs and the challenges that most aesthetic practices face. He prides himself in helping small businesses become more profitable and does it with proper guidance, paired with cutting edge technologies, all provided by, you guessed it, MyAdvice. When he's not consulting with his practices, he's out chasing around his 2 toddlers. Sounds like lots of fun. Antosy is a practice growth consultant at MyAdvice. Michael's consulted with thousands of aesthetic practices since 2010, so a bit more than a decade. And his guidance has been transformative in making his clients' lives better. He's helped to save them time, helped them earn more profit, and made them more competitive in their marketplace. Michael's also spoken at the Aesthetic Show, American Brazilian Aesthetic Medicine, California Cosmetic Surgery, and many, many other conferences. So guys, welcome to our show. We're glad that you're here. Can't wait to hear what you have to say tonight. So please take it away.
Tiffany, thank you so much as always for the warm introduction. Hey, everybody. It is great to be here with you tonight. As Tiffany said, this is now our second webinar that we are running with Aesthetic Record. We are really excited to be here. And as Tiffany said, that's Mike. My name is Rob. We are brothers. You probably noticed that we share the same last name. He's the older brother. I'm the younger brother. He had the top bunk, I had the bottom. You know how that goes if you're the younger sibling. So anyways, why are we here today? Mike and I work really close with a lot of aesthetic business owners, and we help them with their online growth strategy and really entire growth presence when it comes down to their internet marketing strategy. So what we're going to be hopping into tonight is really identifying ways to help you as a business owner be more profitable, to invest within the right strategies when it comes down to your digital marketing, and really understand the proper sequence that goes into building an online presence. So just to set the stage here, I'm going to be going in through kind of the nuts and bolts part of this presentation. Expect my part to maybe be around 25 minutes or so. And then Michael is actually going to be transitioning into a little bit more of an interactive session where we're going to be doing a little bit more of like a website evaluation, a digital presence evaluation. So we're all looking forward to that as well. And of course, if we have enough questions at the end, we're more than happy to cover those for you as well. You can certainly type those into the chat. So let's dive right in. So before I give you guys a really good understanding for the sequence or the recipe, so to speak, that goes into building an online presence, we need to take a step back, and we really need to understand this concept that we call lifetime value. So lifetime value is really understanding that for that patient who is coming to you today for lip fillers, for Botox, for anything that you offer, that person is not a single transaction. If you take good care of that person, they're getting good results, they're going to continue to come back to you for a long period of time. And even further than that, they're going to recommend your services to friends and family members. So you can see that really, if you're taking care of one person, you can build your practice brick by brick. And that is really what we want to focus on, is understanding that there is lifetime value for that patient. We don't want to look at them as single transactions, because if you take care of them, they're going to continue to come back. So what I'm going to be introducing to you guys now is really this entire methodology that we call our pyramid of success. And I want everyone to think about this almost like a playbook that you should follow, and really understanding what is the sequence that goes into building an online presence. So you've probably heard in the past, like, hey, once you have a website, you need to invest right in SEO right off the bat. And that is not the case. SEO and really ongoing digital strategy is not the first thing that you should do after you have a website established. You really need to follow what we call local citations, which I'm going to be showing you here in a second. After you have that in order, you really want to focus on an active Google review strategy. We think about Google reviews as, shoot, when someone recommends a business over to us, or if we found, a new medical spa, we want to do a Google search for it. we look at what other people have to say about their experience going to that business. So it's a referral confirmation source too. We want to focus on really building a really high volume of Google reviews, and we have a strategy for that too. After you have that established, the next step is really focusing on your social media presence. So one thing that I see pretty often, especially working with solo injectors who are really just kind of getting started, they might have a really active Instagram presence, which is fantastic. It's great to have that, but their website might not be in working order. So you're kind of doing things a little bit backwards. After you have a really sophisticated social media presence put into place, that's when we want to focus on more accelerated options like search engine optimization or even paid search. So this is a sequence. We're going to be going through this step by step here. And let's begin again with the website. So just so everyone knows as well, there is a QR code on many of these slides here. The QR code, if you scan that through your phone, that's going to lead over to a virtual consultation link where you can actually schedule up a one-on-one meeting with Michael and I, where we're actually going through an individual strategy session with you, highlighting how we might be able to add some value into your online growth strategy. So that's going to be on most of the slides here. But let's talk about your website first, because your website is really the foundation for your entire digital strategy. Whether someone found you through Google search, whether someone is getting referred over to you, your website is your outward expression into the world. You have to be proud of your website, which, by the way, one thing that Michael and I see really often as well is bad website platforms. As an example, a Wix platform. Wix is a little bit more of like a do-it-yourself website builder. If you have a Wix website, it is not really engineered for continued growth of growing out your business. And there's a lot of reasons for that. By all means, we can speak about that in a little bit more detail if you would like to, and if you have a Wix website. But basically, again, let's talk about your website first, because the website is really, again, where that first impression is met. So in just a second here, I'm going to be doing what I call a 3-second test. On the next slide, you're going to be seeing 6 different screenshots of websites. And what I want everyone to do, I want everyone to play here at home. I want you to take a look at these websites, and just based upon first impression alone, I want you to determine which one resonates with you emotionally the most. In other words, which one feels the best. And the reason why I'm running this test is because I want you to know that there's been studies done on this. Literally within 2.9 seconds, someone makes the decision whether or not they want to stay or go once they land on your website. They literally have it down to the millisecond. So first impressions, when it comes down to website design, feeling, imagery, it all matters a lot. So again, I'm going to show this screen, and then I'm going to hop back over to this screen. So I'm going to show this screen for 3 seconds, and I want everyone to be prepared. Whatever numbers that resonate with you the most, you can either chat them into the Zoom meeting here, or again, just keep them in your mind and we'll play along at home. So here we go. 1, 2, 3. So you can type in which numbers you feel resonated with you the most. I'm going to be hopping back over to that slide here in just a second. But, usually once we take a look at, and I'll wait for some of these answers to come in. I see Brittany here mentioned number 6. Caroline mentioned 6. Blanca, Casey, 6. Yeah, so I think everyone is kind of getting the point. Basically here, literally within a couple of seconds, you made the determination which website felt good to you. And that is a big deal. So just to kind of go through these individually, number 1, there's a picture right there of someone getting injected. Just case in point, never have a picture of someone getting like physically injected on your website, because sometimes people are just scared of needles. So you don't want to show the process. You just want to show the end result. That's why before and afters are fantastic. Number 2, why do we feel good when we take a look at this website? It's the imagery. It's full screen. It feels clean. We like that. Number 3 has a lot of similarities to number 1. Same thing with number 4. Number 5 probably still has one of those website ticker counters from the 90s that say you were the 1000th visitor to the website. So no one wants to go there as well. So it is always, whenever we're doing this presentation, when we take a look at what emotionally connects with you, it is always 6 and 2. So I employ everyone here to think about your website from a critical perspective. Are you happy with your website as a business owner? Do you feel good expressing your website out to the public? Because if you don't, then this is something that represents you. This is something that represents your brand, and it needs to get right because it's the foundation for anything else that you do from a digital standpoint. Number 2 here, once you have a website established, we really want to focus on optimizing that website locally for Google search. So the foundation to optimizing for, especially like those near me related searches, and that's really how we search within Google. Doesn't matter what we're looking for. Case in point, a couple of months ago, my dry cleaners closed. So what do? I'm not really familiar with a lot of dry cleaners around town. So I'm going to go back home or on my cell phone, of course, and type in dry cleaners near me. So you can bet that, if someone is interested in learning more about, hey, Botox, Dysport, fillers, whatever, they're doing these searches near me to find your particular type of practice. So we want to focus there. And really how you optimize for those near me related searches within Google is to really have what is called consistency amongst your NAP listings. So NAP is an acronym for name, address, and phone number. So basically, when you have a business, let me just kind of take a time out and walk everyone through this here quickly, because this is a really important piece of this presentation. When you have a business, you have what are called data aggregators, which are basically publishing information about your business across the web. So when I say across the web, directories like a Google listing, a Yahoo listing, Bing listing, City Search, MapQuest, they all pick up on this data. So the goal here across the web, across all of these different directories, is that you want to have consistency within your business name, your address, and your phone number. So I'm showing everyone this screen because this is a practice that went through some rebranding. Their business name now is 3 Points Wellness, Weight Loss, and Laser Sculpting. But at one point, they were a chiropractic center. And they decided to say, hey, listen, we're transitioning into another type of wellness practice, and we're going to change our business name. So as you can see here, some of these listings are reflective of old information, old business name, maybe an old phone number. And you need to make sure that if you're trying to optimize for those near me related searches within Google, this is usually a missed opportunity for practices. We see this really often where we run reports, especially again for smaller, more boutique medical spas who are actively trying to grow. They're running into a lot of inconsistencies across the web in terms of their data. So you're probably scratching your head thinking, okay, well, what do I do about that? It really boils down to having the right programming and the right technology put into place. And we offer a program here at MyAdvice that we call Local Power, which is basically in charge of publishing all of the correct information, name, address, and phone number across all of those directories. And again, indirectly, the benefit here is that you're optimizing for localized search. That is really the key, is that you want to establish that foundation locally. This slide here is interesting because we actually did a study on this earlier this year. And what we found was only 1 in 10 practices actually have accurate local directory listings. So if you're sitting here today watching this webinar thinking, how do I get an edge up on my competition? This is where we need to begin. We need to take a look at your directory listings. And if there is any level of inconsistencies or even unclaimed listings, that is really one of the lowest hanging fruit opportunities that you as a business owner can really attack. And Mike and I would be happy to run a report and let you know where you stand as far as that goes. Stage 3 here. So after you have a good website established, after you have your local listings really actively managed, now we want to focus on really building a higher volume of Google reviews. I call Google reviews the Amazon effect. So in other words, before you buy something on Amazon, what do you do? Before you buy anything online, what do? You look at what other people have to say about their experience with that product or with that service. And this is just how we are conditioned as humans now. So I could have my best friend come to me and say, Robbie, there's this new Italian restaurant that opened up in town. You got to go to it. They have the best food. Okay, that's great. I'll keep that in mind. But if I'm in the mood for Italian one night, first thing I'm going to go do is I want to see what other people have to say about their experience at this Italian restaurant. So you can bet that even for patients who are getting directly referred over to your business, your medical spa, your injecting business, they are still wanting to see what other people have to say about their experience with you. Doesn't matter if their best friend made that recommendation, they still want to see what other people have to say. And that's really where having an active Google review strategy is really critical. And this is a tool and technology. Actually, we offer a technology that we call Review Power. It's a text message based technology where all that you would literally do is type the patient's cell phone number into this program, and it's going to shoot them over an integrated text message that is basically integrated with your Google business profile that makes that process really easy. And maybe Michael can show you a little bit more about how that tool works, but basically you need to have a process in place relative to this. Otherwise, you're going to be missing out on some really lower hanging fruit opportunities here. I find this slide really interesting too, because, okay, what is your typical next step after you read a positive review? We did another study here, and this is with Bright Local. And I find it interesting that even after someone leaves or reads a positive review, 12% of individuals still search for alternatives. So the point here is this, is that you really need to have a complete online presence. A part of it needs to be reviews, but you also need to have a killer website, good content, great before and after photos. And I realize that some of that might feel a little bit intimidating, especially if you're just kind of getting started, with your med spa, but you build up over the course of time. And if you follow this philosophy in terms of our pyramid and really understanding the right sequence that goes into digital growth, you're going to be more successful. So now that we're building up here, let's talk about your social media presence as well. So social, and this is really just our philosophy when it comes down to social media. The best type of content is 100%, 110% always going to be coming directly from you. No company can replace original and unique content. And that type of content, when you're creating originality, you're connecting emotionally with your audience, you're keeping them coming back to your social pages. That is the content that you should really be focused on producing. Specifically on Facebook and Instagram. Obviously, there's other platforms out there as well. But, why do we need to focus on social media? Well, we need to focus there because it is a retainment tool, and sometimes it can also be used as an acquisition tool. Why is it mostly a retainment tool? Because the people who follow you on Facebook or Instagram, the likelihood is that most of those individuals have already been to you before. So they just want to stay in touch. They want to keep up to date. They want to find out what's the latest in terms of service offerings and everything else that you have going on within your practice. So that's why they're following you to begin with. And the goal here in really understanding social media is that you need to be consistent. Consistency is really the number one problem that sometimes we see on our end, is that, business owners are getting so tied up with running a business, taking care of their employees, taking care of the patient experience. Social media probably just feels like, hey, this is just another thing on my plate. And I feel that. I understand how someone can feel that way and not dedicate as much time to social media. And if you feel that way, we have a program here that we call Social Power that is really intended for consistency. So in other words, we're still encouraging you to produce your own content. That's something that you should be doing. But in between those gaps, maybe you can only commit to posting once or twice a week. So in between those gaps, we have a program where we actually have an entire social media team here that is helping contribute to that messaging on social media, contributing to Facebook as well as Instagram. The key to understanding how social media works is people connect with people. And this is one of my favorite slides next. I think everyone's going to level with this pretty good. And you can type this in chat. So Progressive, the insurance company, right? We all know Progressive. We've seen the commercials. They exist. In fact, some of you guys might be clients of Progressive, and that's great. But who, in fact, is the person behind Progressive? We see her, that's a clue, in the commercials. We see her everywhere. She's the brand. That person is Flo, of course, right? So this slide is really interesting. Now, this was taken a couple of years ago, but point being here is that this is a screenshot of the likes on Progressive's Facebook page. So they had 343,000 likes. You compare that to someone like Flo, who has over 5 million likes. Flo is a part of Progressive, but again, she is absolutely blowing the roof off relative to likes and followers just because people want to connect with Flo. People don't want to connect with Progressive, the insurance company. So keep that in mind, that you as a business owner, you are your own brand. You have your own identity, and people want to connect with that level of identity. And there is no better place to share that identity than social media. So again, social media is a retainment tool. We focus on that. Everything else that I covered prior to social media here, your local listings, active Google review strategy, having a killer website, all of those things are a lot more geared towards patient acquisition. But again, social media is a little bit more on the retainment end. So we're building here. After you've had established steps 1, 2, 3, and 4 here, website, local listings, review strategy, and social media, truthfully, you have a pretty complete online presence. You do, because you're optimizing for what you do locally. You're cranking out good Google reviews, which is also a great search engine optimization tool. You have a complete social media strategy. So you're really clicking into high gear. Now, if you are in a really competitive, dense area and you're wanting to accelerate your growth even further, now finally is where search engine optimization comes into play. Search engine optimization is different than, what I was referring to before locally with local search and really managing those citations. Search engine optimization is a little bit more geared towards, I would say, the buyer's journey, who is a little bit further along within their discovery process to find a med spa. That was a little bit of a mouthful, but let me break that down. For the person who could be going to Google, understanding that they are looking for a med spa, but maybe they're going to Google and typing in a search term like, hey, Google, what is the difference between Botox and Dysport? So that person is, again, further along within their journey because they kind of know what they're looking for. They're looking for facial rejuvenation, but they're looking to know really those differences. And this is exactly where search engine optimization is helpful, because if you have a little bit more of an aggressive search engine optimization plan, you can get your website's content in front of that person. You can optimize for those types of search terms, what we call long tail keywords within Google, to actively target that person and drive them into your beautiful website that you're proud of. That is really the goal. So I want everyone to think about search engine optimization as really casting that wide net, getting that person who is further along within their buyer's journey into your website. And truthfully, that is the type of patient that you want to attract. You want to attract someone who is asking those types of questions, because that tells me that they are not the Groupon type of patient. I don't know if anyone has ran Groupon ads here, but they are not the Groupon type of patient who are basically just kicking the tires and not wanting to invest within their wellness journey. That person, I can promise you, going to Google and typing in what is the difference between Botox and Dysport, they're going to be a committed patient of yours. And if you take good care of them, they're going to recommend you to friends and family members and everyone else. So that's really how this is done. And by the way, if you're working with a search engine optimization company, a marketing company, part of what we do really well here at MyAdvice is really demystifying what goes into search engine optimization. So if you are currently investing in SEO and you don't exactly know what you're getting results wise, or what the company is actually doing to manage that campaign for you, then I'll just open up the door again. We would love to have a conversation with you and demystify what goes into this process. Finally, the cherry on top is paid search. So paid search is really an accelerated marketing strategy. I'm sure that everyone has seen those advertisements up at the very top of a Google search where it says sponsored or ad. Those are companies who are taking out real estate within Google search to basically make sure that their website appears for those types of search results. So paid search is a strategy that I typically see for practices who are, to be honest, a lot more established relative to like steps 1 through 5. So in other words, they have a good website, they have a great Google review strategy. Their local listings are intact. They're really cranking into high gear in many areas, but maybe they're wanting to focus on something just a little bit more specific and get a little bit more engagement for that particular service or treatment option within Google search. That is exactly where paid search is helpful to accelerating that growth further. But I would again encourage anyone to hold off from anything paid search related until you have all of these other strategies that I just talked about really working for you. So in review, that is our pyramid of success here. This is the playbook that we have been very successful in working with med spas of different maturity levels. So I am speaking to the person who, is a nurse practitioner or an RN who might still be working in emergency medicine, but has a med spa on the side and is actively wanting to grow that med spa so that they don't have to work in emergency medicine anymore. I'm speaking to you. The other person that I'm speaking to is maybe the med spa owner who is 1 to 2 years of owning a med spa. Things have gone really well, but they're wanting to press on the gas pedal a little bit further. I'm speaking to you as well. So, in any facet of how young or old or accelerated that you're wanting to be within your medical spa, 99% of the time, there are going to be some gaps here or some blind spots within your online presence. And, part of the cool thing about working with a group like MyAdvice is that you get to kind of pick and choose and mix and match what you feel is best for you. So in other words, the way that we work is you don't have to do everything to basically benefit from some of the things that we do. Let me break that down a little bit further. If you, let's just say, for instance, have a really nice website that you're proud of, but you're wanting to optimize that website locally for Google search, and you know that you might need some help with your local directory listings, well, we have a product for that. That again, we call Local Power, and that's what you see there for the $199 a month. Now, of course, if you start to bundle the things that we do together into a website package, that's where the pricing gets a lot more advantageous. But I wanted everyone just to kind of see this in full transparency, that this is how we operate. We operate on an a la carte basis, but also if you bundle things together in terms of website cultivation and also know that you need help generating Google reviews, your local SEO, we can help you out there as well. Last slide before I pass the baton over to Michael for the interactive session that he is going to be running for a live website evaluation, which is super exciting. This is us. As Tiffany kind of alluded to, Michael and I have been in this space for over a decade. MyAdvice actually has been in this space for even longer than that. MyAdvice has been around for 23 years. This is us. We have 424 Google reviews with a 4.8 star rating. We make the overwhelming majority of our clients happy because we focus on the right growth strategies to help you acquire the right types of patients. And we have that philosophy down pat. So like I said, if you are interested in scheduling a little bit more of like a one-on-one strategy session where Michael or I will be going through your local listings, your website, your social media presence, your review strategy, please again, take out your phone, schedule up a meeting using that QR code, and we would love to meet you. So Michael, why don't you take it away from here? And we're looking forward to what you have next.
Okay, little bro, that's a hard act to follow up here. So hopefully we can do this. So, hey guys, first of all, I always love being able to meet this group and connect with aesthetic record practices. And so good to be able to meet you all here again. One thing I just want to kind of reaffirm and kind of summarize with what Robbie had just mentioned is that, all of these pieces really fit together. And this is one of the things that we find most commonly with aesthetics practices is that you just do things out of sequence. A very common thing that I see is, a practice might have a website and then they start to do, social media right away, or they do a lot of paid ads, but they don't have a lot of this foundation that's really built up, which, you have to build the foundation if you really want things to grow well. You guys probably can't tell this, I'm wearing glasses here as well too, but I've got these like little bags under my eyes, which have always bothered me. And I have a lot of my clients that are saying to me that, Agnes microneedling would be a really appropriate thing for that. And, one of my clients I was talking to was asking, well, talk to me about your health. What do you do? And I say, well, I work out a lot. I eat well, we eat clean. I have a glass of wine here and there. I sleep well. And my client basically said to me is that, hey, you know what, if because you have the right foundation in place, you're really going to see some good results if you choose to go forward with Agnes, because I see a lot of clients do really well at that when you have the right building blocks. Let's just assume on the other flip side of the coin, I'm a 300-pound guy and I smoke and I drink and I party a ton and I hardly ever sleep. And I came to you and I said, hey, fix the bags under my eyes. You would probably laugh at me because you would say, listen, you have to have the right foundation. So what we're now going to do here is we're going to dive in to really looking at some volunteers here today. And for everyone that had volunteered, we had so many people offer their practices to be feedback for us, which we so appreciate. We haven't been able to get to every single one. So like Robbie said, we can go back to that QR code. If you guys want some a little bit more one-on-one, happy to schedule up some time here. The aesthetic method. Here, you guys are our winner here. Now, first of all, and I'm going to show a few other websites here. So what Robbie was talking about, that 3-second test, how patients make a decision about your practice within 2.9 seconds. And are they going to stay? Or are they going to go? We've all have established that a website has to be eye captivating, but additively to that, it also has to convert leads. And make no mistake about it, whenever I ask the question, why do you have a website? Yes, it's for information. Yes, it's so people can see what you do, or they could look up before and after photos, but ultimately it's to make money. A website that works well is one that's going to convert and drive leads on an efficient level. And if it's not doing that, then it's not doing its job. So when I'm looking at these websites here, what I'm really looking at them through is the lens of not only just the impression, but also the conversion aspect, because that is one of the most important facets to making your website work. So I'm going to share this website here. I'm going to share this website right over here. And I'm also going to share this website here, Cottonwood Medi-Spa. Okay. Let's talk about the conversions. What are conversions? Conversions are leads, meaning phone calls that are coming in, form fills that will be filled out. Online chats are also really great lead accelerators. And so if I take a look at the aesthetic method here, a beautiful looking website, right? I love the use of original photography. If you do not have any type of photography assets about your practice in terms of your staff, or if you have a beautiful office location, I always tell my practices, show off your assets. I'm looking at this website. Gosh, this looks like a great practice for me to go to. Okay, I would like to get in touch with this practice. Where's the phone number? I can't find the phone number on here. Let me just go to the next practice here. Where's let me call out. These guys look really good. They've got a beautiful office location. All right, how can I get in touch with them? Well, there's a phone icon, but I'm on my computer. I can't call them from my computer. Is there a phone number? I'm going to go to another one here as well, too. Where's the phone number again? Phone number. Guys, the most important piece of call to action detail of your practice on your website is your phone number. And consistently with a lot of these sites, and these are just some brave volunteers here, but the majority of sites that we had seen, the most important call to action detail, which is this right here, is commonly buried at the bottom of your computer of the website As I take a look at enhanced aesthetics here as well too, phone number, phone number, phone number, all the way here at the bottom. The aesthetic method, same thing, all the way here at the bottom. This is the whole why as to why we go onto a website, is because you want your phone to ring. And everybody that's watching this webinar, you guys as business owners know this much more than what I do, because you are fielding your leads every single day. But the mindset that aesthetic patients have is we ain't got time to wait. It can take people forever to be able to make a decision just on getting something as simple as Botox. It could be years until they make that decision. But by the time we've made that decision, it's something that we wanted yesterday already. So the last thing you ever want to do then, when there is that sense of urgency when somebody lands onto your website, to make it more difficult for them to contact your practice, which never should be. You want to make your marketing streamlined, and you want to make it as efficient as possible for the patient to get in touch with your practice. As you take a look at this website here, it doesn't matter where we start to scroll onto this website, as we start to go down, hey, guess what? That phone number never leaves the eye line of a visitor. which is what you always want to have happen. You want to cater to just making things very, very easy for that patient. As you take a look at this website here as well too, doesn't matter where we scroll, that phone number never leaves the eye line of a visitor, which is exactly what you want to have happen. Now, Robbie had mentioned earlier as well too, that if you have a Wix website, it's not really a good platform to really build a business off of. And to explain a few reasons why that is, first of all, Wix is a proprietary software. So it's not, once you have a Wix website, you really have to stick within the Wix sandbox. But one of the biggest deficits to Wix is that you have basically two separate versions of your website that you have to manage. You have your desktop version, and then you have your mobile version. And they do not communicate with each other. And especially when Google is trying to show the best websites for search, you have to keep in mind Google, I don't know if anyone knows this or not, but Google originally started as a replacement to the Dewey Decimal System in the library. It was literally meant to the original intention was to digitize how you found library books. It did that by looking at content, and it applied that principle of websites content to show the best websites for search results. But if Google has a hard time crawling your content, if it's having to say, well, which version am I looking at here? Am I looking at the desktop version or the mobile version? It's making Google work harder, and it's showing your practice as a less trusted resource. Websites in today's age must be built with mobile responsive technology, not just mobile optimized, but specifically responsive. And the biggest downside to a Wix website is that it doesn't respond to the framework of the computer screen. And as you look at this here, when I'm bringing my browser's window in here, you're going to see that things are just kind of getting cut off here. The text is not really reorienting it to the size of my computer screen. And that's a diluted user experience. It's also really inhibiting a lot of your traffic to the website, okay? When I go back to a website like this, though, what you're going to see is when I do that same test here, you're going to see that, oh gosh, the whole website, it's always adjusting to the screen size here. It's always staying within the frame. In other words, this website is what we refer to as being device agnostic. It doesn't care if I'm on a mobile, if I'm on an iPad, if I'm on a widescreen desktop monitor, it's always going to show the most optimized version of your website, okay? Think about it from this perspective. Think about if you were to buy a Tesla and you went to go buy your Tesla and you're talking to the sales guy, he's like, hey, this is a great car, but this is a great Tesla, but it's got cranked down windows. You'd probably be like, well, I don't want that Tesla, I want power windows. You would never buy a Tesla if it had cranked down windows. You also never build a new website with the best technology without having a mobile responsive framework to it, okay? The same also here applies to when we look at a website like this. What I'm also looking to see here is on the navigation is photo gallery. Guys, we're in the business of aesthetics. We are in the business of visual presentation. And really not any of these websites here are showing like a photo gallery here, for example, with the exception of this one. Sorry, Cottonwood Medispa, I apologize. You do have a gallery on here. However, when I click on this gallery, it's not really meeting the expectations of what I would assume a gallery to be. I go to gallery. Whoa, should put my phone on mute here. A photo gallery, though, is not necessarily showing off like the photos of the office. We actually want to see like real cases of your work, okay? And I will tell you, photo galleries, when we study data points from our clients, are typically the #2 place that people will go to after your homepage, okay? It's typically where a lot of lead generation will happen if you have a good, robust set of cases. Now, this is one gallery style that I really, really like here. This only really works if you have a good sense of consistency with how you take your before and your after shots. But basically, being able to lay that before and after right on top of itself and really give people a sense of, gosh, like the aesthetic results that we can expect when we're coming into here. Your gallery can be such a powerful sales tool for your website if it's constructed in the right way. Oftentimes, I will see a lot of aesthetics practices use their Instagram, and they have tons of cases of before and afters on their Instagram, but they don't put them on their website. Which also too, by the way, the more that you add cases to your website, especially if you have an optimized gallery, it can actually help to improve a lot of your visibility within Google searches. And so a lot of improvement opportunity here as well. One of the biggest things that I also do want to point out, and guys, I'm also not utilizing this as a fear tactic, so please don't feel like I'm doing that. None of these websites here are ADA compliant. And ADA compliancy, it's been around for a bit here. It's, if you know what ADA compliancy, it's just making sure that your practice is, say, wheelchair accessible. There's a mandate through the Affordable Care Act that says if you're any type of healthcare business, your site needs to be ADA compliant. Okay, and if it's not, what I will tell you is that you are exposing your practice to lawsuits and litigation. We've been talking about ADA compliancy for a few years now, and many different professional organizations that I'm sure that you're a part of have put out literature on this. It used to be years ago, I was talking to practices and saying, you know what, you really have to have your ADA compliancy, but I've never really heard of a practice being in a lawsuit for not having that. In today's age, that is not the case. 20%, 30% of the conversations that I'm having with practices when I bring this up, they tell me, oh yes, my friend is going through a lawsuit right now. They're being sued. There's a lot of attorneys could be looking for very easy wins to litigate against. This is one of them. So again, just how you would never have crank down windows for your Tesla, you also never have a website in today's age without your ADA compliancy. And this little guy right down here, and this is how we build our websites, is with all of this infrastructure in mind. Not only just great conversion tools, great photo galleries, but also your ADA compliancy. We have thought of all the hard things that way you don't have to. You can get back to running your business and serving your patients. For example, this website here, if I needed to increase my text size, I can do that. Or gosh, if it was just too bright for my eyes, I can darken the contrast. So again, all these pieces really matter when it's ultimately helping to drive more visibility and conversions for your website. Now, going back to the framework that Robbie was then talking about, the very next thing that you have to do is align your local listings and making sure that your practice's local citation data, thank you, honey, I know your flight's delayed, thanks so much, and how your business listing information is being seen among what we refer to as local directories is consistent and accurate. As I take a look here at aesthetic method, not too bad. You know, you're only at a 28% inaccuracy score, which I'll be honest with you, commonly I see practices that are in like the 50s to 60s, 70s to 80 percentile in terms of their inaccuracies. So not too bad here. But as I take a look at some of our other practices here, Spa here, for example, a lot of citation nightmare that we're finding here. You know, this is the main location here of the practice, but a lot of these directors are saying, well, no, actually they practice not in Arlington Heights, but they practice here in Harwood Heights. You know, some of these and we're seeing a lot of these like location errors in terms of where is this practice actually specifically located. As I take a look at C2 Bella Aesthetics here, 57% inaccuracy score. Here we're finding a lot of even inaccuracies with the name of this business. The name of this practice is called C2 Bella Aesthetics, not necessarily Mrs. Heather Merlot. Heather Merlot might be the main practitioner. She might be the owner of the practice, but that's not what we actually call this entity. The phone number of this practice ends in 9468, and we're seeing right over here that there's a different phone number in 9506. So there's all this misinformation out there about these entities. And as Robbie had said, a lot of this misinformation comes from sources of data which you can't control. It's what we call data aggregators. So those are things like credit card files, government records, leasing agreements. If you've registered an LLC in your local state, this is all basically means of putting misinformation out there into the public domain. Now, if you have rebranded a practice, if you have moved from an office location, if you have a tracking phone number, all those things can really mess up a lot of your data. So when you align this and you correct this, and by the way, our local power software does this, and it does it almost instantaneously. You hear a lot of the times when practices, if you've talked to digital marketing companies before, if you've been in practice for a while, oh gosh, things are going to take time, things are going to take time, things will take time. And when we actually talk about SEO strategies, I agree with that point. Managing your citations is not a this takes time thing. This is an immediate implementation that syncs into your Google profile. And as a function of that, it starts to drive results for you. This is actually an onboarding checklist that I like to show to practices when they consider onboarding a tool that's like this. Less than 24 business hours after you sign a contract with us for local power, we're delivering on this. It's immediate time to value, which practices really, really like about this because it's something that they just don't have to ever worry about. However, when you're able to really correct a lot of these inaccuracy listings here, good results are going to happen in terms of more increasing your visibility within Google search. This is a case study from one of my clients who's a single provider, single location, staff member of one, her own chief cook and bottle washer. I'm sure there's a lot of you that maybe fit that profile that are watching this webinar here. And my particular client was looking to grow. And so when she first onboarded Local Power, her accuracy score was 16%. So in other words, the inverse of this is 84% inaccurate. So as I take a look at some of our folks over here, C2 Bella, you're at 57%. Remedi Spot, you're at 80%. Obviously, we talked about 28% inaccuracy. So all these practices are coming from different points of errors here. But generally speaking, this is what we are able to drive for this practice within the first 30 days of implementation. First of all, we had corrected their inaccuracy, brought that accuracy score up to 77%. And as months went by, that only continued to improve and to get better. But within that 30-day window, we were able to drive 3,400 additive search impressions to her practice, both within platforms like Google.com, Google Maps, for example, even local voice search as well, too. If I were to take out my iPhone and say, hey, Siri, where's a med spa near me? There's a lot of different ways that patients will access local resources, okay, online. There only used to be one. That one resource, if you look over at your office, it's probably propping open your door right now. They called it a phone book. This is kind of the digital equivalent of that. This helps to really optimize you across the board. Bottom lining this drove 8 more leads to her practice within that first 30-day window. And as we look at that month 2, that lead amount doubled to 17. Now, guys, keep in mind, depending upon where your practice is at, these are different levers that you can then pull to make better. For example, are you fortifying this with what we had talked about as another important layer, which is consistency with how you are then driving reviews online, specifically Google reviews. Aesthetic method, I got to give you guys some props. You're killing it with your review strategy. This is so good. This practice is a 5-point rating, 130 Google reviews. So you want to have a high rating. You want to have good volume of reviews, but the most important part is consistency. You want to be very consistent with how you are generating reviews. That is actually, if you think about it from this position, your review building is never finished. It's not like you reach a magic number and then you're just done. You've hit your ceiling. This is something you're always constantly in process in terms of doing here. This last one was from a week ago, 2 weeks ago. Guys, if you're seeing approximately 20 people or less on a weekly basis, you should be generating 20% new reviews as a function of your patient base. That means about 2 new reviews per week if you're at 20 or less. If you are, say, 20 or more or 30 or more, typically now you're at you're seeing more people. Your ratios will not necessarily be as high as that. Maybe you're not at a 5% return rate, but you want to think about how often am I generating reviews to be able to keep up with those ratios. Now, with practices that we work with, folks will always say, Michael, I have so many happy people. I ask them to leave me reviews. They say that they're going to do it, but they don't do it. And the reason why they don't do it is because it's your job, it's your responsibility as a practice owner to make it as easy as possible for a patient to leave a review. It's no different than utilizing this example here of making sure that the phone number always stays on the eyeline. Why? Because you're making things convenient for your patient base. You have to look at your marketing from everything. And by the way, guys, just one thing I'll let you know, we look at everything we do as a company through the lens of how can we make things better for our clients. With what you do to market your practice and to build your practice, you need to adopt that same lens. Everything that you do, how can you make things better for your patient base? So there's a lot of review platforms which are out there, Aesthetic Record being one of them. This is another tool that I know just also works as well here too, where basically what you can do is just type in a patient's name or put together a quick little request here, type in a cell phone, type in a cell phone number, and I'll show this here with you right now. And send out just a really quick Google review request link that typically will integrate with both your Google page as well as your Facebook page. These are really your two most important review sites because Google is going to help you tremendously with new patient acquisition. Facebook is really going to help much more with patient retention and helping to increase more of that lifetime value. Here you can see I just clicked on a link. It takes me to a landing page, right? This will always typically have your branding and your logo, but then an integration where I can click on your Google listing or your Facebook page, and bam, once I've clicked on that link, I'm taken right here. If your practice does not have a text-based application to build your Google reviews, and I say Google reviews specifically, not driving reviews to your to the platform that you might be utilizing for scheduling. It needs to all go to Google because those are the reviews that you always own that will also to additively help you with increasing your optimization on a localized level. 20% of what Google is looking for, because in addition to those near me searches that Robbie was talking about, people often use the vernacular best near me. And Google really looks at the consistency of your Google reviews to really showcase that. And as I mentioned, consistency here is the name of the game. You want to be very consistent with your citations. You want to be consistent with how you're generating reviews online. You also want to be very consistent with your social media as well here too. Guys, I love this profile here on Instagram. I think it's very creative. It's showing a blend of like not only the work that the practice is doing, but also to like some pop culture things with Cameron Diaz and Sofia Vergara here. But again, consistency is the name of the game. And the reality is that social media can be a full-time job. And if you are not posting at minimum every other day, you're just simply not showing these platforms that you are a user of it. That's the cadence of which you really have to be posting. You can see this post was from 5 days ago as I take a look at this. As I go to this one over here, then it was from May 20th. And so there's a lot of new additional posts that should have been created within this timeline. Now, best social media, as Robbie had said, is always going to come from you. Good social media is you're going to outsource that and hire somebody to do that. Better social media is the blend of things coming together where you are getting some outside help, but you're also fulfilling that in doing your own social media content here as well, which is where our Social Power product can then come into play. With Social Power, what we do is we curate medical spa content that you can actually use your services between, do I want to focus on derma fillers or lasers or body contouring or whatever that might be. And what we do is we curate content for you and pre-schedule it to go out 60 days in advance. So rather than your social media being an every other day thing, it now becomes a one thing that you're doing every 2 months. And we create content to be posted 4 days a week on your practice's Facebook page, and then 3 days a week on your practice's Instagram. So it's a total of 7 posts that you get from us with this platform on a weekly basis. And again, this is meant to be a complement or a supplement to what you're already doing. It is not at all meant to be a replacement for this. As I take a look at this post here on 7/7, this is one that's going to be talking just about fillers. You know, maybe what you wanted to do is add some additional content to this, like call us today for an appointment. Maybe for whatever reason, you didn't like this image. Well, guess what? You can X this image out. You can pull your own image in if you wanted to do that. This product in its entirety through a calendar year gets you over 500 pieces of content. We only pre-schedule a certain amount to go out. So how practices utilize this, how they really like this tool is they can supplement more to what we pre-schedule, or maybe they can delete one and substitute that for another. The one really cool thing about this system as well too is this all gives you an ability of pre-scheduling out your own content in addition to what we also create for you as well. So as I look here in the future on July 8th, there is no post. I'm going to go to create a new one here. Maybe let's go add in an image. I'll preload some images in from my library. Pull this one in right here. Oh, who's that cutie? Click on continue. Type in a little bit of my text here. And perhaps maybe I would like this to say go out at 11 o'clock in the morning. So once I hit that date and time, this is now where my original unique post is then going to be going out. By the way, guys, in case anyone's wondering, this is the world's cutest 3-year-old with the world's most evil hygienist. I happen to be married to her, and this is our son here. So again, guys, the name of the game is always consistency and making things as easy and convenient as possible. I'm going to unshare my screen here because I know that we're at our time. Would love, obviously, for the opportunity to help your practice. If you're actively trying to grow If you have had a misaligned strategy, if you're spending much more money than what you need to ultimately to see less back, Rob and I would love to be able to schedule a consultation 101 with you, really kind of dive into where some of your blind spots might be and really how we might be able to be of value and service here for your practice. I'm happy to stay on here. I know we have about another minute. If there's any questions or questions that people would like to type into the chat, I'm sure Rob would be happy to stay here as well too.
Hey guys, welcome back, or I'm welcoming myself back. I'm not sure which.
Hey.
But fabulous webinar. We always learn so much from you guys about our marketing strategy, really social media. I was learning all kinds of things about social media and what I should and shouldn't be doing. So thank you so much. And for those who attended right now, obviously you can stay on to the chat right now, or if you want to connect with these guys offline, or email us if you get confused of what to do and how to get it connected, either way. And then we'll have this up for an on-demand rewatch. So if you guys missed parts of it, you came in late, have to leave early, you can watch it again on, I believe, YouTube tomorrow. So we'll have it all there for you. And you guys, again, you crushed it. Any last minute thoughts or things you want to say, or again, feel free to stay on if you want to.
I'm happy to hang out. Yeah, we certainly hope to, sorry, Rob, I didn't mean to cut you off there.
Go ahead, older bro, go ahead.
Yeah, he did. Yes, he did. He meant it.
I feel like he's kind of catching up to me now, so I got to find whatever way I can to wrangle him. But no, I certainly hope that we have the opportunity to connect with everybody at Aesthetic Next as well, too, if we don't have the chance to connect one-on-one beforehand.
Yeah, it was really a pleasure to be with everyone tonight. And yes, by all means, please schedule up a consultation with us. More than happy to go through some individual growth strategies just for your practice.
Yeah, I heard that my team at the Aesthetic Method is doing a great job. So shout out to those guys. They always do a great job with everything. But thank you for doing the real life, like a live reading of all the websites and all the pieces and parts. It's so great to see it like actually applied in real life and see it come into fruition. So appreciate that. But yeah, if you guys need to get a hold of these guys and you can't find them, email us, chat with us, or they had a QR code throughout the presentation. And also you can go to their website as well and find them. So again, thanks for coming on, and we hopefully will see you again soon before September.
All right, sounds
Thank
good.
you so
Bye,
much.
everybody. Take care.